25.
January 2nd,
Five most
1978, a woman in
disturbing audio
California received a
recordings.
call asking for someone named Ray. She didn't know
How much I want to bet? In this in one of these subsections, there's going to be the chimpanzee that beats the woman's face off. That's going to be one of these video calls. One of the audio calls. How much I want to bet?
anyone by that name, so she simply told the caller they had the wrong number and hung up.
That's fire.
Back then, callers had to manually enter each digit of the number they wanted to call in a rotary phone, and accidentally entering the wrong number was a common mistake. So she didn't think much of this and moved on with her day. However, things took a horrifying turn that evening when she received another call from the same person, and what she heard on the other end of this audio call was extremely disturbing.
That's disturbing. So my thing is when niggas call you and they're on that bullshit, and if they really pull up to your house, what are you gonna do? I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm walking around my house butt ass naked, veiny ass dick, and everything's on. Butt cheeks jiggling, out in the wind, feeling the gusto behind me. Let a nigga try to come up and kill me butt ass naked. You're a freak. You are. You know what you are. Try to pick up what I'm after. I dare you. You're not gonna get what I said. Fuck out of here. Gay ass murder.
The man who was politely asking to speak with someone named Ray earlier was now threatening to end her life. What's worse is that this audio call wasn't a baseless threat or a troll. The person calling was later found out to be the Golden State Killer, one of the most infamous serial killers in US history. He terrorized California for over a decade, from 1974 to 1986, and terrorized California for over a decade.
Where are the fine shit news reporters back in the day? There was no fine shits. Nigga, this is what y'all was staring at? Jenny from up the fucking block? Nigga, she looked like Housing Authority top mod. What the fuck the machine's called? HOA? Nigga, she looked like boss. She looked like the boss. Nigga, she not no fine shit. That is Butterface.
From 1974 to 1986, and operated across multiple counties, including Sacramento, Ventura, Santa Barbara, and Orange County. What made him more terrifying than most other serial killers was just how precise and thorough he was. Instead of committing the crime whenever he got the chance, he would often plan months in advance. He would stalk his victims, learning everything about their daily lives and routines to find the right
I can't even say that.
opportunity. This also included surveying the area around their home to plan escape routes. Sometimes he would break into his victims' homes beforehand to unlock windows, unload guns, and plant the gear he was later going to use for the crime. He would also call his future victims many times leading up to the crime and threaten them, similar to the call you heard earlier. This was all a part of
when you get up out the house. If a nigga is calling your phone books had your number. Didn't they have your number and address? Can you get your number and address from a phone book back then? If a nigga is calling my house over and over, you're hitting my landline. We didn't have cell phones. You're hitting my landline, and you're talking about, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Trying to make a nursery rhyme in my ear on the phone right now. Why would I stay in my house? That's kind of what I don't get with some of these people. It's like, you don't know if it's a prank or not, my nigga. There are sick, twisted motherfuckers out there right now. There's a nigga who could smash my garage door in, come in with a sawed-off shotgun, and blow my fucking legs off if he wanted to. Who's stopping, bro? Free will. Free will is a powerful thing.
Of his act, with these calls serving as a way for him to mentally torment his victims ahead of time. When he eventually broke into their home for the last time, he would often tie them up and make himself at home, even cooking in their kitchen on occasion. Put simply, he was extremely confident in his planning, and unfortunately it worked. By the end of 1986, he had broken into different homes over 120 times, and in more than 64 victims, 3 of which were children. However, despite the authorities having tons of evidence against him, like fingerprints, footprints, masks, multiple rings, and many different sketches from witnesses, nothing led to a name.
Imagine seeing that or that in your room. That looked like my nigga Justin. Shout out JT.
He would even call and taunt the police and families of his victims, daring them to catch him. But despite all this, the case remained cold for over 40 years. That is, until the late 2010s, when a new kind of detective work changed everything. You see, investigators already had plenty of DNA evidence from the killer. However, his DNA didn't match the limited samples they had in their database. But in 2016, a very distant relative of the Golden State Killer took a DNA ancestry test through one of the companies like 23andMe. The DNA data from this company was aggregated by a company called GED Match. And the FBI then used this extensive database to see if any of the samples matched with the DNA evidence they had. While they didn't find the killer, they did find a match with one of his very distant relatives. This allowed them to go through the whole family tree with over 1,000 with one of his very distant.
Is this Jesse? Is that nigga?
Relatives. This allowed them to go through the whole family tree with over 1,000 members and eventually find the person they were looking for. After 40 long years, the identity of the man behind this creepy call was finally made public. On April 24, 2018, authorities arrested then 73-year-old Joseph James D'Angelo, the Golden State Killer. He was a...
This deadass that nigga? Yo, that is fucking crazy. What the fuck?
Vietnam War veteran and an ex-police officer from the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office. Investigation of his past also revealed a chilling instance from July 1979 when he was arrested for shoplifting a hammer and dog...
Yo, nigga, imagine you're related to a fucking serial killer. Oh my gosh, you took a 23andMe and now your fucking grandpa's locked up. This nigga got 100 bodies. Tying them up. Cooking good steak in their kitchen. Cooking good steak in their kitchen while they hogtied. No R. Kelly. This is not a joking matter.
Repellent.
Sorry.
In hindsight, it's obvious that he was going to use both of these items for one of his crimes. And the reason he tried to steal them instead of paying was because he didn't want the sale tied back to his name in any way. In July of 2020, Joseph pled guilty to 13 counts of murder and 13 counts of kidnapping in a plea bargain to avoid the death penalty. He was given 13 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole and is now serving his time at a California state prison.
What? You're 70-something years old and you don't want the death penalty? My nigga, life's over with at that point. Just call it quits. You caught 13 bodies. You got 13 life sentences. You're not getting out. Your family don't even want to come see you. Gramps, you're a fucking murderer. Call it quits.
Recorded audio calls he made to his soon-to-be victims have gone down as some of the most disturbing pieces of audio ever recorded.
Yo, why aren't those methods no more for these sickos? Why aren't those like torture methods no more? Like, bring that shit back low key. Bring back the brazen bull or whatever that shit was called. Bring back the fork. Bring back the fork under a nigga chin on his chest. Yo, get these niggas up out of here. Put them on an island.
On the 1st of December 2017, Reddit user Drudagon17 made a Reddit post hoping to find an explanation for the terrifying screams he heard while on vacation. What's causing these screams? So, I'm not really sure what this is. I've had a lot of people tell me different things, but no one really knows for sure.
So, I'm not really sure what this is. If nigga got a typo on Reddit. Paranormal, Drudagon, 7 years ago. Can't even
Sure. Maybe someone here could help me shed some light. Alongside this, he linked to a recording of what sounded like a person screaming at the top of their lungs.
That's a coyote. Trust me. Nigga, there be coyote. I know I'm pausing a lot. Suck my dick. Suck my dick. It's a reaction. I'm gonna give my reaction. There be coyotes out here. Nigga, they be sounding like screaming babies. Fam. Right here beside me is a fucking farm with a cornfield. My nigga, if these blinds was not right here, I would feel like I was being watched every time I come out here. My setup used to be in that corner, so I didn't have a problem with it. But now I'm right in front of the window. I feel like I'm getting watched all the fucking time when I'm out here at night, bro. I'm telling you, this should be freaky, bro. Should be freaky. I hate being out.
The OP then went into detail describing the circumstances surrounding these disturbing noises.
No more pauses.
Reading,
We're talking
earlier
over.
in the year, I went on a long road trip across the states, mainly visiting the national parks and a few cities along the way. Towards the end of the trip, we found ourselves staying in the small town of West Yellowstone. This appeared to be an ideal base whilst we explored Yellowstone
Yellowstone's
National
in
Park.
Kentucky, right?
We booked into a pretty
that
creepy
Tennessee?
but cheap motel just off the main street for a couple of nights. Me and my fiance had one room, my parents another. On the first morning there, we planned to get up early, catch the sunrise, and hopefully spot some of the local wildlife. So our alarms were set for 5 a.m.
We got, what is it,
At about
Appalachians?
4:45
No, we don't got
a.m., I was
Appalachians.
woken by loud banging
I
on
don't
the
know what
door,
the fuck
followed by
we got.
crying and shouting. I
so
instantly
glad I
jumped out of
wasn't
my
born in,
bed
like,
thinking the worst had happened.
ugly-ass
I opened the door
deserts.
to my mom
Oh my
in a state of
gosh, imagine
panic,
being born
saying,
in Las
"There's
Vegas. Ugh. Yo, you're born in a fucking desert, dude. That shit is god awful. You ride your bike, next thing you see fucking tumbleweeds, my nigga. That boring ass fucking
screaming,
shit.
a woman
That
screaming.
lame ass
There,
state,
clear as
dude.
day, I could hear a
Arizona,
woman
oh my
screaming.
God, yeah.
It sounded as though it
It's
was
just
within
a
100
fucking
feet of
desert.
us. Mom claimed it had been happening
as
for the
shit,
last 30
for no
minutes.
reason.
We wanted to call the police, but had no phone signal, no phones in the rooms, and we were the only people about. This on its own is pretty terrifying. But what made this encounter even more unnerving was what happened next, with the OP and his family having a very bizarre interaction with local law enforcement, stating, "Then, after I'd been hearing the scream for about half an hour, so roughly an hour since it started, a police officer seemed to appear out of nowhere. He started to ask questions about what we were doing and why we were up. We thought he'd come about the scream, so we quickly told him everything. He then heard the scream and sped off towards town. The screaming got less frequent and eventually stopped, so we decided to go about our day. We saw all the lovely sights of Yellowstone and even showed several park rangers the video to see if it's an animal. They all said they've not heard anything like it before. So when we got back into town that evening, we stopped into the sheriff's office to try and get some information. This was met with a lot of hostility from both the lady at reception, who eventually closed the shutter in her face, and the same officer we had seen that morning. They both said exactly the same thing. It almost sounded like a script. "Sorry, ma'am, but that was an intoxicated woman yelling for her boyfriend." I don't quite understand how they can put that down to someone shouting at their boyfriend. I get people get really wasted, but not to the point where you just scream and never say any words. So, what was the source of the disturbing screaming Dredagon heard that night? The most prevalent theory I've come across is that these noises were coming from an animal, more specifically a mountain lion. This makes a lot of sense since mountain lions are native to the Yellowstone wilderness. More importantly, their screams are eerily similar to what the OP heard during his stay in that area.
Bro, I just hate a cat, bro. I hate the way a fucking cat look, dude. The only cool looking cat out there is a fucking lion. I hate the way cats look. These is bitches. Evil things, bro. Them things are just evil.
That
creatures.
said, it's still possible that the police officers
Born
were
with
telling the
hate.
truth and that these
Pea-brain
screams were
born
coming
with
from an
hate.
intoxicated woman. The pitch of the second scream in the OP's
Well,
recording in
that brain can't
particular
even learn
is a
no
lot
tricks.
more human-like than
Cats can't
something
even learn
coming from
give
an
me
animal.
paw, and they want respect. Nigga, a cat can't even really learn give me paw, turn around for a treat, jump up. I'm not saying a cat has to be a circus act, but dude, why do you want a cat as a pet, dude? They're fucking evil. They don't even respect you.
One person on YouTube even tried to explain this uncanny difference, stating that the first round of screaming sounds like it's coming from a mountain lion, and the second time sounds like a person screaming back at the animal. Maybe they were just annoyed and were trying to scare away the animal or get it to shut up. While this could have been the case, most of the screaming noises OP heard were likely coming from a mountain lion, since according to his post, he didn't hear any cries for help or other words in these noises. Even if it were coming from a highly intoxicated woman, it's safe to assume that she would say something aside from just yelling at the top of her lungs. But if that's true, why did two different police officers tell the same lie? Some people speculated that they did so just to avoid scaring off tourists, or that they were just pulling a prank. But from what I've seen, Drudagon was most likely lying about this part of his story. It's entirely possible that after learning about the surprisingly normal origin of these creepy noises, the OP used this encounter to craft a disturbing story they could post on Reddit. Especially since at one point during his original post, he mentions showing the recording to multiple park rangers. Now, even if these rangers weren't 100% positive, they would still make the obvious connection with the similar animal noise that's common in that region. Drudagon also mentioned looking it up on YouTube and not finding any videos that could explain the disturbing screams. Even though when searching "screaming in Yellowstone" on YouTube, one of the first results is a 9-year-old video showcasing a mountain lion scream.
That had to be a mountain.
That being said, it's been over 7 years since the original post, and Drudagon hasn't posted any updates since. So whether this was a mountain lion or
nigga, what's that shit called? Karma farmed. Nigga got his karma bounced. Nigga, his 13,622
something else more disturbing, we'll likely never know the truth with 100% certainty.
Nigga on Reddit be weird, dude.
In February 2016, the residents of Forest Grove, Oregon began hearing a strange, high-pitched noise in the area.
The flute man. You need to run. Oh my gosh, do you see him? The flute man.
This eerie noise was limited to the city of Forest Grove and the wilderness surrounding it. It could only be heard for a few minutes at a time. It would begin blaring randomly throughout the day and often late into the night before going away for a few hours. One of the most disturbing aspects of this noise was how quickly it spread to the entire city. Its tone was deeply uncomfortable, resulting in a lot of people calling the police in distress.
Get out! Tonight, it's happened about 5 times during the last 7 days, and the neighbor beside me,
It's
we can't
Baraska.
even hear each other in the backyard. Neither one of us can figure out what
It's
happened.
Baraska. It's the naked men up in the hill, metal grinding, having babies with their own kids and shit.
Throughout that February, emergency
shout out
services
Creepcast.
received over 200 calls from concerned citizens, some even reporting physical symptoms from hearing the noise. But one question was on everyone's mind: where was this screeching noise coming from? One of the first theories that came up was that the noise was coming from a gas leak, something that could possibly be that loud.
Damn.
However, the Northwest Natural Gas Company quickly shut down this idea, stating that if there was a
All
gas
that
leak, they
pressure?
would have become aware of it already. Also, a gas leak sounds
that
more like a
pressure sounds
jet
like
taking
that?
off rather than the screeching sound reported. On top of that, they pointed out that if there was a gas leak big enough to cause this much noise, the smell of the
Damn.
leaking gas would spread throughout the city as well.
Damn.
Another theory that came up was that this was the result of trapped air and sewer lines escaping through a manhole. However,
Yo,
a
I'd
major
hate
flaw
to
in
be
this
down there
theory
when
was
that's
that if it
happening.
were
You
true,
probably
why
get
did the noise
blown,
only begin
you
in
got shit
February of
all over you,
2016? The fire marshal, on the other hand, suggested the idea that it might be coming from someone's faulty air conditioning
Is
system.
that where poo-poo goes? Sewer drains? The poop go to a sewer, right? Or does poop go to a sanitation factory? Where does poop go? It goes to a sanitation factory, right? The sewage shit. And then it's all filtered out. If you drink tap water, you need to cut it out. Do you really think they are filtering out every doo-doo feces? Every baby wipe? You know, niggas are still flushing baby wipes. Every piece of toilet paper, every tampon. Oh my god, bro! Imagine you're drinking bloody tampon water mixed with roach shit, rat shit, your shit, his shit, their shit, its shit. It the clown. I'm not talking about, you know.
This is because many dysfunctional systems emit a very high frequency sound, similar to what the residents of Forest Grove were hearing.
So a big ass water heater in the middle of town.
The truth is, this noise could have been coming from any number of
big-ass
sources,
water heater
including
in the
construction
middle of town.
equipment
I'm
or a
not
broken
believing it.
emergency siren. Unfortunately, the sound appeared to be coming from all directions, making it pretty much impossible to find its origin and verify any of these theories. While everyone was desperately trying to figure things out, the daily noise was becoming more and more unsettling with each passing day. But the eerie noise then suddenly disappeared just as quickly as it had begun. Over 9 years later, and this strange noise is still an unsolved mystery. That said, I believe the most likely theory is also the most boring one, that this whole thing was a prank or hoax by someone with a horn of some kind. You see, after getting overwhelmed by the number of calls from Forest Grove residents, the local police station began investigating the phenomenon more seriously. Amid their search, they put out a statement warning any potential pranksters, reading, "While some might find it comical, interesting, and mysterious, it's unlawful if it's being done on purpose. If this is the case, the individual caught will face possible repercussions." A couple days after this statement came out, the noise vanished and hasn't returned since. It's almost as if whoever was behind this realized that the prank was not worth the trouble and stopped. Of course.
Yo, chat. I don't think the gorilla chimpanzee audio call is gonna be on here. I don't think.
Of course, all this is just a theory on its own.
Still
But
subscribe.
unless someone comes forward with a confession, I doubt we'll ever learn the truth about the origin of this disturbing noise. On March 2nd, 2013, an anonymous user made an entry on 4chan talking about a creepy radio hijacking they experienced as a kid. The post read, "A creepy, I think, audio file which I've always been curious about. Back in 1994/1995, when I recorded this off of the radio, I told myself I'd never make a copy of the tape, having freaked myself out. But it's been sitting in the back of a desk drawer and in the back of my mind for 16 years now, and now I'm just curious. The
You
weird
niggas know how to use one of those? Do y'all know how to use one of those? Do y'all know how to use a cassette? A cassette tape and all that? You young niggas? I don't think y'all do. Y'all niggas didn't grow up with VHSs, VCR, having to record something on the cable box, having to grow up with the antennas on the TV. Bro, niggas did not grow up with that shit, bro. You 04 babies and up, 05, 06 babies and up. You niggas are losers. You niggas are losers. Y'all don't know the struggle.
drawer and in the back of
Y'all
my
niggas
mind
talk
for
about the womb
16
with
years
leapfrogs.
now, and now I'm just curious.
Leapfrogs and
The
iPhones.
weird stuff
Lame
starts
ass
about
niggas.
16 seconds in. Around 1995, I was about 15. I used to stay
Having
up
to
late
use
in my
the
room
DVD
listening
player?
to the radio on a boombox with an integrated
Having to
tape
rewind the
recorder.
VHS?
I'd dial
Oh
through
my
the stations,
gosh,
and
bro,
when I
you
heard
had
something
to be careful
interesting,
with
I'd
that
hit
shit.
record for a while and then move on. One night, I came across this. I don't think this was the
MP3s?
beginning of the broadcast, but I caught a lot of it. Right at the end, an announcer says that the station I was tuned to was WKCR 89.9 New York. There are a bunch of names and dates in there, but I've never run into anything else like this. Alongside this was a link to an audio file that starts off quite normal with a section from a 1993 song by Billy Cobham. It then abruptly transitions into a violin section from a song called Golden Sonata by Henry Purcell. The audio then morphs into a bone-chilling,
That's some chop
high-pitched scream of sorts. This alone is extremely creepy, but the audio doesn't stop there. Soon after this high-pitched scream, it morphs into the sound of a woman taking deep breaths. This breathing pattern
Gotta get
repeats
the
a few
thumbnail.
times, ultimately leading into the sound of a woman reading seemingly random names and dates in an almost whisper.
Oh, look who's back. Lame nigga, lame nigga, lame nigga.
This voice keeps repeating the same 9 names and dates over and over again. A little investigation shows that the names and dates are taken from their obituaries. The 2 most notable names among these belong to Frank Oppenheimer, the brother of the creator of the atomic bomb, J. Robert Oppenheimer, and Barry Joseph Valentino Jr., one of the victims of the Pan Am
fuck?
Flight 103 bombing in 1988. However, from what I've seen,
Nigga
there's
got
no
moles
correlation
on the top
between
of his
any of the
head.
names besides the
Liver
fact that they're all
spots,
dead.
bald.
After repeating these names for a
Let
few
it all
minutes, the
go,
broadcast
bro.
goes
Like,
back
if
to
you're balding, if all this shit is gone right here, just let it go, dude. Just let it go. I don't know what to tell you. You look like a goofball. Unless you're gonna look like Chico Bean. Unless you're gonna look like Chico Bean and get the shit braided, my nigga. Let that shit go. What did he just say? I'm on the clock, motherfucker. $200? What are you, an option trader?
to normal with a seemingly routine call sign
What
announcement.
are you doing?
You're tuned to WKCR FM New York, 89.9 on your dial. Colombian music is running a little late. It will be starting in a few minutes.
Now, when the anonymous
That'd be
user originally
voice.
posted this on
Hold up.
4chan, it received
Minutes. Colombian music is running a little late. It will be starting in a few minutes.
She sound like so fine shit. She sound like so fine shit. Nah, bro. Boost Apex accounts and ranked. Oh, you wanna?
Now, when the anonymous
dang,
user
you a
originally...
Elon Musk type of nigga, bruh. You be doing that shit that Elon Musk be paying for to boost his. See. You be giving these trash ass niggas room to talk.
posted this on 4chan, it received mixed reactions.
Giving these
Some
bum
people
ass
were
niggas
deeply
a room
creeped
to
out
talk
by
on the
it,
game.
while others were skeptical and believed the
If you
OP
gotta
made
pay
this
to
whole
level
thing
up your shit, you are
So,
bum.
what's the truth? Well, there's evidence supporting both sides of the argument. The thing is, after receiving a few requests, the OP posted the full audio clip on YouTube with a channel named Ravenmouth. Searching it on Google shows that the OP has a Reddit account by the same name. With this, we can see that a couple of weeks after his 4chan post, Ravenmouth posted the same radio hijacking story on the No Sleep subreddit, which is mainly
How many
about
accounts have you
believable
done,
but
my
not
nigga?
always true disturbing stories. Near the end of this
That's a good
post,
hustle.
Ravenmouth also added
It's
a
a
new
good hustle
section
for
that
you,
wasn't
but
present in his
it's
4chan
a waste of money
post,
for them.
reading, "Unfortunately, and for this I sincerely apologize, it never ever stops. I told you this was just something I'd found, and I swear to you that that's true. It really did happen that way. It's more than that though. I don't really know how long it takes. A few weeks or months from now when you're alone and suddenly you hear the keening, quavering sound rise up like it's crawling out of your spine
nigga
and into
finna
your
make a
skull,
cool
you'll
little
understand.
couple
When that
wow.
night comes, if you listen
Nigga finna
closely
make
to
a
what
couple
comes after the
wow.
horrible sound, you'll realize that the woman will be reading your name, new names. You'll play it for your friends, your family, add their names. I hope
Damn.
desperately that if I can make the list long enough, add enough names, then they'll take mine off and leave me alone. I'm sorry." This is plenty of evidence to show that this story is fictional and Ravenmouth made it all up. However, he remains adamant that while he did embellish the story a bit for the Reddit post, he still did record the audio from the radio when he was a teenager. So, could the WKCR station have actually been hijacked by someone? It's entirely possible. Radio hijackings are not a new phenomenon, and were certainly a thing back when this would have happened.
This nigga don't even need a
But
job. He can just do
WKCR
that
is
shit.
owned by a college and ran almost entirely by college students.
Start
When asked
scamming
about it, the
niggas, bump
WKCR
up that
team
fucking
stated,
price.
"As far as we know, this did take place on WKCR airwaves. In terms of the claim that it was a hijacking, that is very unlikely. WKCR is a weird place with weird programmers, probably just some late-night new music programmer having fun on the mic." Put simply, Ravenmouth was likely telling the truth, but what he thought was a creepy hijacking was just the artsy experiment of a college student. Although this, of course, cannot be 100% confirmed.
Nigga, just come
On
out and
March
say
1st
what happened, or if it happened or not. Why do companies act like they can't just say what the fuck happened? Nigga, if you got hijacked, you got hijacked. Like, what the fuck?
1999, the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration recorded an ominous sound coming from the ocean. This is what it sounds like at 16 times speed.
Nah, don't scam nobody, bro. I'm just playing. Don't go scamming nobody. That's bad influence. We gotta have WPR around here.
This sound, named Julia,
Day that
lasted
I
for a
blow,
whole 2 minutes and
pause.
43
Day that I blow,
seconds, and was
pause.
powerful enough to be detected across the entire
have
Equatorial
good PR.
Pacific Ocean hydrophone network.
You go to the gym.
Hydrophones, for those who don't know, are
Hey,
basically
nigga, today, well, yesterday, this morning, went to the gym at like 3-something in the morning. Back by today, tomorrow morning, chest and try. I love chest day.
underwater microphones. They were originally installed to detect submarines during the Cold War and were later converted to be used for general ocean research. This network became popular in 1997 when it captured multiple strange sounds coming from within the ocean, including the now iconic bloop.
Fucking bloop. That's just a nigga farting his pants. That's what it sound like when you fart in the pool. When you fart in water and that shit rise up your butt and it go all the way up your back. It go all the way up your crack to your back. It go. That's all that is, bruh. Niggas just
According
acting
to
like
the
they was in
official
the water
explanation, the sound heard in this recording was caused by ice quakes and large icebergs, or by icebergs scraping the ocean floor. Julia was
Damn.
recorded nearly 2 years after this
Ocean
one.
floor. Damn.
However, unlike bloop, it doesn't have an explanation. Due to the high loudness of Julia, scientists weren't able to pinpoint its exact location. One potential solution that's been floating on the internet for a while now is that Julia originated from underwater volcanic activity.
You know
Sadly,
how hot something
this
has
theory
to be
falls
to be
apart
on
quickly
fire
upon inspection.
underwater. Oh my
This is mainly
gosh.
because there was also recorded audio coming
Volcanoes
from
are
an
some
underwater
nutty shit.
volcano called Upsweep, and it sounds nothing like Julia.
Volcanoes are some nutty shit, bro.
A somewhat more interesting theory that tries to explain Julia is that the sound originates from an unknown sea creature. And while this does sound like science fiction at best, it feels a lot more feasible when you consider the fact that we're yet to explore over 80% of the ocean in detail. However, the very idea of an ocean creature big enough to produce a sound audible from
Man, nigga,
thousands
just
of
get to
kilometers
exploring,
away
bruh.
is
Come on.
terrifying, and honestly quite out there. The sound dubbed Julia is one of many underwater sounds recorded that have yet to be identified.
I just told you what it was. It was a nigga farting. It was what's his name? What's the water god? Poseidon? Is that his name? Poseidon? What's the SpongeBob nigga with the trident? Bald. Poseidon? Whatever his name is. That was just that nigga down there farting. Mermaid Man, Barnacle Boy, Patrick and them taking shits. And that's all it was, bro. Y'all look into it too deep. You conspiracy theorists, chill. Stop taking such a crazy approach to shit. Maybe think inside the box a little bit. Have you thought about that? Think inside the box.